Joburg's hottest breakfast show.
Joburg's hottest breakfast. What a privilege and always such a treat to chat to this gentleman. It's 10 years to the day tomorrow that South Africa won their second ever World Cup. That was in 2007. Joining us, the coach from that time, now applying his trade in Japan, the one and only Jake White. Okay, welcome, Jake.
Yeah, how you guys going?
Yeah, we are terrific. We don't worry about the delay. We know that Japan are struggling when it comes to high-end technology.
Okay, no problem.
Jake, 10 years, it must stir up some incredible memories and feelings.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it doesn't feel like 10 years ago. It feels like the other day. But, obviously I'm still actively involved in rugby, and I get to experience a lot of those feelings regularly when I see a bit of deja vu, whether it's a move or whether it's a try or whether it's an action I see in the rugby field. But looking back now 10 years and people talking about it, and obviously there's a lot of hype in Japan about the World Cup being here and soon. So yeah, a very special time, Sasha, and I must say that it brings back some really fond memories of a really special time I had in my life.
Jake, if we look at the current situation or current composition of South African rugby and the Springboks, and how difficult is it to get a unit like the way that you managed to inspire that collective group of 30 players and keep them motivated even when times are tough?
Yeah, look, I think that's the challenge is that, when you're playing the number one sides in the world all the time, and if you consider we play Australia and we play Argentina, we play New Zealand, we got an end of year tour and we play Ireland and England, all those teams are ranked in the top 10 in the world. And, you're going to have years where you struggle. You're probably going to have seasons where you struggle, and we did too. I think that the challenge is you've got to just keep focused and just always remember the end goal. And the end goal is that you've got to be peaking when it comes, around for World Cup. So, people would say the World Cup is the jewel in the crown, and the reality is that's the one you got to win. People remember it, as you quite rightly mentioned. 10 years ago, everyone's talking about what happened 10 years ago. So, yeah, as I said, the World Cup is the pinnacle. It's where you get measured, and even if you're going through a couple of tough times, as long as you just stay focused and do your job and understand that you've got to make sure you're ready for when it really counts, and then everything falls into place.
Are you still in touch with any of the guys you coached from that time, Jake?
Yeah, I still am a bit. I mean, I obviously Juan Smith is playing his last rugby game this weekend. He's retiring from all forms of rugby. So I've been lucky enough to spend some time with him now, especially over this really special time of his career as well. Obviously, I was lucky enough when I was at Montpellier to have Frans Steyn and Bismarck and Yanni, and players like that who were part of the World Cup. And then obviously from time to time I bump into certain other players and I see other coaches, Albert van der Berg coaching in Cannon, who's part of that team. I'm lucky enough that because I'm still in rugby that I get to cross paths with a lot of those players. As I said, Ricky January in France, some really special memories of all those players, and no such more bigger than it is now, because as I mentioned, in Japan, it's World Cup fever year. Everyone's talking about hosting and where they're staying and which hotels they're going to be in and which training grounds they're going to be using. And, when that comes up, people then talk about World Cups and France and South Africa. So, yeah, it's a really, really special time now just to reflect and sit back in a country that's hosting the World Cup and think about how fortunate we were as a group to actually go on and win that.
I mean, it must be incredible. I mean, Japan with a victory over South Africa, a couple of years ago, and also people like yourself plying your trade over there. What is the state of Japanese rugby at present, Jake?
Yeah, look, I mean, they love rugby. And as you quite rightly say, that win they had over South Africa has obviously... it's encouraged everyone to follow rugby, to watch rugby, to want to play rugby. And now that they're hosting the World Cup, obviously it's not pleasant when you're South African, because that highlight package and that last try and that sequence of watching the supporters crying on the touchline, etc., is repeated over and over and over here. Obviously to create a bit of emotion and hype for the World Cup. But rugby is very strong and very healthy in Japan. People, I suppose, around the world are unaware, but there's 500 universities that play competitive rugby in Japan, and that means that they start from a very young age. and they want to learn. They've got good players coming into this country now. We've got foreign coaches coaching in this country, and I just sense that everything you say and everything that you do, they latch onto, and they want to make sure that they can improve themselves. So, yeah, I think it'll be a very successful World Cup when they host this.
Jake, I just wanted to chat to you about the All Blacks and Springbok clash, just the 1 point in it. How did you analyse that game, and how effective do you think the Springboks are going forward?
Yeah, look, I mean, I was asked, on the show just before that, a dead rubber test. I think it was you, John, that asked me that, and I said to you, we'll never have a dead rubber test when South Africa play New Zealand. And
Yes.
I was really happy to see that was far from a dead rubber test, and in a lot of ways, it brought back a lot of pride, and it brought back a lot of, I suppose, negative supporters who were really feeling that our rugby was going the wrong way. But I think everyone also understands one more performance or one better performance doesn't change anything. We still got to make sure that we grow off that performance. I think the All Blacks, it doesn't matter whether or not they had won the tournament. They know that South Africa took a step up, and I suppose that in itself answers the first question that Sasha asked me. What do you do to get a team galvanized? I think you look at that video and you build on that video, and you show players that that what they did there was good enough to win most Test matches. And if the players understand that, and you're not asking them to do anything that they couldn't do, you're not asking any players to do something that's out of their reach. I think every player there showed that when they did what they had to do and they did it properly, they were with a really good chance of winning that test. So, yeah, I think the challenge now is whether we can replicate that, whether we can play with the same amount of passion and probably about the same amount of response that we had off the back of that loss in New Zealand. But I do think that there's enough there in that video to show that that there's no reason why we should be the laughing stock of world rugby.
Jake, as you know, South Africa also put their name in the hat to host the 2023 Rugby World Cup. We're one of the front runners. What do you think about that? Is that what the country needs?
It's very important, I think, but I think it's important for every country. I think when I read it, all the bits, I think you look at Ireland and they're really hoping that they can host a World Cup. France, obviously biased from my point of view, but France was a very special World Cup for us, and obviously the fact that we also did so well in France. But I know as well that in '95, what that World Cup meant to South Africa, and let's not forget, not just for South Africa, for world rugby.
Sure.
With Mandela there and the way that country was united and the way that we showed the world how rugby can really change a nation. I think a lot of people would agree that South Africa probably needs a boost, not only rugby-wise, I suppose, as a country and as a sporting nation. And we must never be embarrassed about the fact that we've had lots and lots of sporting events, and we've done extremely well. We hosted a football World Cup that was obviously fantastic. We've hosted a rugby World Cup, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to host another rugby World Cup. So, yeah, I mean, I really believe that whoever gets it is obviously in need of that boost, but I would really like to think that South Africa, time zones, financially quite a nice place to tour for foreign guests. Obviously a beautiful country, and they love rugby. So, hopefully we'll get to host another World Cup.
Yeah, we look forward to it. Final question, Jake. Will we see Jake White coming to coach back in South Africa?
Dun, dun, dun. That would be great.
Yeah, look, I mean, Sasha, one can never say never. I
Yeah.
think as I've got older and as I've seen what happens around the world, you can never say, if you had said to me 10 years ago after the World Cup that I would be coaching in Japan 10 years later, I would have said, you're kidding me, So, and not only have I coached in Japan, I've obviously finished a stint in France and in Australia. So,
Correct.
yeah, I mean, the world now and rugby has become so big in a lot of ways and so small in others that that everyone knows everybody. There's opportunities around the world. The game's growing, and I would like to believe that I'm still far from finished, and I'd like to believe that all the knowledge I've learned that maybe one day there's an opportunity for me to give that knowledge back to players coming through our country system. So. Yeah, I would never say never, and whatever's meant to be, I'm sure will unfold as it unfolds anyway.
Excellent, Jake. Always great to speak to you. Continue doing the brilliant stuff there in Japan, and enjoy the next couple of days in terms of celebration for 10 years since that incredible victory.
No, that's really kind of you. Thanks so much, guys.
All right, take
Thank
it
you,
easy.
Jake.
Cheers, Jake. Bye-bye.
Joburg's hottest breakfast show.
Sasha Martinengo, Andy Levy, John Wallen, Kwaneli Kuneni, Simon Hill.
Weekdays from 6 to 9.
Hot 91.